Welcome to RankLens. Today, we count down the top 10 countries with the highest forest cover as a share of land area. When you think of forests, your mind probably jumps to the Amazon, the boreal zones, maybe the temperate rainforests of Southeast Asia. But this countdown reveals something unexpected. The countries with the most forest coverage as a pure percentage of their land are often small nations you might not expect. From tropical archipelagos to mountain kingdoms to South American rainforest nations, forest cover tells a story about geography, conservation, and what it takes to stay green. We're counting down the top 10 countries where forest dominates the landscape. Ready to see which nations wear green the deepest? Let's dive in. At number 10, we have Bhutan, where 72.5% of the nation is covered in forest. This Himalayan kingdom didn't stumble into this achievement by accident. According to its constitution, Bhutan is legally required to maintain a minimum of 60% forest cover, a remarkable environmental mandate that puts conservation at the heart of national identity. Nestled in the eastern Himalayas, this landlocked realm sits isolated and high above the plains of South Asia, where rugged terrain and limited infrastructure have naturally preserved vast stretches of pristine woodland. But Bhutan goes even further. It's widely recognized as a carbon-negative country, meaning its forests absorb more carbon dioxide than the nation produces. That's not just a number, it's a philosophy woven into the very fabric of national policy. At number 9, Finland claims 73.7% forest coverage, making it the most heavily forested country in all of Europe. Step into the Finnish wilderness and you'll encounter the boreal taiga, a landscape dominated by soaring pines, dark spruces, and delicate birches that create a mesmerizing patchwork across the landscape. For centuries, forestry has been the cornerstone of Finland's economy and identity, shaping everything from settlement patterns to export industries. Today, Finland walks a careful line, harvesting timber while replanting systematically to keep the forest alive and thriving for future generations. The result is a nation where you can barely travel far without trees on every horizon, where the forest isn't just scenery, it's livelihood, identity, and backbone. At number 8, Papua New Guinea brings 74.1% forest coverage to our countdown. Occupying the eastern half of the New Guinea island, this island nation sits astride one of Earth's largest remaining tropical rainforests, a verdant wilderness that stretches across mountainous terrain and into steaming lowlands. What makes this forest extraordinary isn't just its size, it's the staggering biodiversity locked within. Thousands of species found nowhere else on the planet call this rainforest home. Endemic birds of paradise, tree kangaroos, and insects that science is still discovering. The forest itself becomes a character in the landscape, shaping every aspect of life for indigenous communities whose knowledge of these woods spans millennia. Yet this ancient forest also faces mounting pressure from logging, agriculture, and resource extraction. A tension between preserving irreplaceable biodiversity and meeting modern economic demands. At number 7, the Solomon Islands rise with 77.9% forest coverage across their realm. This Melanesian archipelago, scattered east of Papua New Guinea, presents a stunning patchwork of jungle-clad volcanic islands rising steeply from the sea. Tropical rainforest blankets most of these mountainous landforms, creating an almost impenetrable canopy that spills down ridges and into hidden valleys. What's fascinating is how geography has preserved this forest. The rugged, mountainous terrain has long made large-scale clearance difficult and economically challenging. The island's relief acts as a natural guardian. For countless generations, indigenous Melanesian communities have lived within and alongside these forests, developing intricate relationships with the land. Today, the Solomon Islands remain a frontier of tropical biodiversity, though logging pressures continue to test whether this balance can hold. At number 6, Palau claims 87.6% forest coverage, a remarkable density for a Pacific island nation. Located east of the Philippines, this archipelago is famous for its rock islands, dramatic limestone formations cloaked in dense jungle that rise like monuments from the sea. The landscape here is almost dreamlike, towering limestone pillars draped in vines, their bases surrounded by crystalline lagoons, and jungle so thick it seems to swallow sunlight. Palau's development pattern reflects an important geographical constraint. Flat land suitable for building is extremely limited, so human settlement clusters tightly along the coasts, leaving the interior largely forested. This natural constraint has inadvertently become conservation's greatest ally, protecting pristine ecosystems and making Palau a hotspot for marine and terrestrial biodiversity. At number 5, Seychelles reaches 88.4% forest coverage, an island paradise in the Indian Ocean. Scattered off the coast of East Africa, this archipelago is small in landmass but enormous in ecological significance. What makes Seychelles truly special is something you'll find nowhere else: the Coco de Mer palm, a massive, ancient tree that grows only in the wild on these islands. Its seed is the largest fruit of any tree on Earth, a striking symbol of Seychelles' unique evolutionary heritage. At the heart of this endemic richness lies the Vallée de Mai, a UNESCO World Heritage Site recognized as one of the most remarkable natural forests on the planet. Within this valley, ancient trees tower overhead, creating a landscape that feels untouched by time itself. For a small island nation, Seychelles has become a beacon for conservation and natural heritage protection. At number 4, Gabon spans 91.3% forest coverage, making it one of Earth's great remaining wilderness nations. Straddling the equator on Africa's Atlantic coast, Gabon sits squarely within the vast Congo Basin rainforest, a green ocean that spans multiple nations and contains some of the planet's most biodiverse ecosystems. This isn't merely scenic backdrop, it's a living laboratory of African megafauna. The forest shelters forest elephants, towering silverback gorillas, and mandrills, primates with stunning facial markings that seem almost otherworldly as they move through the undergrowth. Gabon's vast forest extent reflects geography and relatively low population density, but also a growing commitment to forest conservation and sustainable management. Yet this ancient forest faces constant tension between preservation and resource extraction, a struggle playing out across Central Africa. At number 3, the Federated States of Micronesia reach 91.9% forest coverage. This Pacific nation is a collection of hundreds of small tropical islands spread across thousands of miles of open ocean, each a jewel of volcanic origin rising from the sea. Dense jungle blankets most of this volcanic terrain, creating a verdant canopy that dominates the landscape wherever flat ground allows. What's striking about Micronesia's forest percentage is the sheer fragmentation. The nation's total land area is remarkably small, making it a scattered archipelago of forest-covered dots. Despite this fragmentation, the islands support unique tropical species and cultures that have thrived in isolation for millennia. The challenge for Micronesia, like many Pacific Island nations, is balancing the conservation of these precious forests with economic pressures and the existential threat of rising sea levels. At number 2, Guyana claims 93.6% forest coverage, the highest outside our top entry. Guyana holds a unique distinction. It's the only English-speaking country in South America, a geographical and linguistic oddity nestled on the continent's northeastern shoulder. The nation's interior is dominated by the Kaitur Falls, a breathtaking cascade that plunges nearly 750 feet through dense rainforest, one of the world's most spectacular waterfalls hidden within pristine wilderness. Beyond that iconic landmark, Guyana sits atop the biodiverse Guyana Shield, an ancient geological formation that hosts ecosystems found nowhere else. The shield cradles thousands of endemic species, flora and fauna that exist only within this specific region. What makes Guyana remarkable is how forest coverage has remained so extensive even as neighboring regions face intense pressure, a testament to low population density and active conservation commitment. At number 1, Suriname rises to an extraordinary 97.4% forest coverage, the highest on Earth. Though it's the smallest sovereign country in South America by land area, Suriname is a giant when it comes to forest preservation. The interior lies entirely within the ancient Guyana Shield rainforest, that same primordial ecosystem that stretches across this corner of South America, untouched by time and largely untouched by development. This creates a stark geographical reality. Most of Suriname's residents live clustered along the narrow Atlantic coastal strip, leaving the vast interior as pristine rainforest sanctuary. The forest here represents one of Earth's greatest carbon reserves, an engine of planetary climate regulation that stores centuries of atmospheric carbon in its trees. What happens in Suriname's forests doesn't just affect the nation, it ripples across global climate patterns, making this small country an outsized player in our planet's ecological future. Forest cover isn't random, it's written into geography. The nations topping this list share common threads: small land areas, mountainous or difficult terrain, low population density, and a geographic fate that place them outside the paths of historical deforestation. But numbers alone don't tell the story. These forests are carbon banks, biodiversity repositories, and cultural homelands for indigenous peoples. Together, they represent some of Earth's last great wilderness, ecosystems that balance planetary climate, shelter species we've never even discovered, and embody what pristine nature looks like. As the world wrestles with climate change and extinction, the nations on this countdown carry outsized responsibility to protect not just their own futures, but the future of the planet itself. And that's the top 10 countries with the highest forest cover as a share of land area. If you enjoyed this countdown, subscribe to RankLens for more.